All right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. We started this podcast as a way to create a central resource of the best business owner growing tips shared by the most outstanding business owners in the industry, of which our guest today is definitely one. These outstanding business owners agree to be on the show and provide a ton of value for free, all in the hopes that our audience might learn from their words. Today's incredible business owner guest is Braydan Young. Braydan, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Good to be here. Yeah, outstanding business owner. Those are nice terms. Appreciate that. Yeah,
You earned it.
I'm Braydan. I am the co-founder and head of growth of Sendoso. We started the company about 10 years ago or so. We're the gifting space, meaning like those gifts you receive from your vendors, from your customers when you start a new job. We send those and then we track those into your CRM to prove that they actually work. It's been a fun adventure. I think the last 10 years I have some good stories I could share, some mistakes,
Yeah,
some good
yeah.
things, all that fun stuff.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great idea. Um, how did you come up with the idea? How did you know this was the idea you wanted to do? How did you get
Yeah.
traction?
When I was in sales, I was a sales rep before this, and I used to send out handwritten notes a lot of the time, and I would send also like Starbucks gift cards to people to try to get demos. So think like, hey, like you have all these cold emails that went out. This was like 2014, so all the cadence and AI tools weren't as big yet. So I used to like buy a Starbucks gift card from like just starbucks.com, drop it into an email, be like, hey, like take my demo, and here's $5 at Starbucks for you to grab a coffee before you join. And it worked really well. This was like before the world of like personalization in emails or account-based marketing.
Hmm.
And I had a buddy who was a little more technical than me, and he was like, we should build this into an actual company. So we did. We plugged it into, so we called it Coffee Sender. We plugged it into Salesforce. It was like a beer money thing. We're like, maybe this takes off, maybe it doesn't. So we launched it like the very first month. It did really well. Like all of our buddies were like, yeah, hey, I'll use this in sales also. And we kind of realized we should rebrand. Like Coffee Center was not the right name for it. We wanted to send more than just coffee. And we were looking for a name. And the joke is like we ended up at Sendoso because you send so much more than just coffee. But like the true story was like it was good. Like, we wanted the name Sender, but it was like 10
Yeah.
grand. We had no money. And like so GoDaddy was like, what about Sendosa? We're like, sure. I don't know what that means. It works. And so that's what we went with to kind of build it. And we added more than just coffee. Like we added physical
Hmm.
things. We now run 5 warehouses around the world where we store things. We added a
Mm.
marketplace where you can send cupcakes, cookies, flowers, etc. E-gifts, we have like more than 1,000 of them. So you can do pretty much anything you might want to send to a customer or
Hmm.
to a prospect or whatever have you. So that's where the idea
Yeah.
came from. And then we hit it at the right
Wow.
time. I think a lot of it was luck because people wanted something
Yeah.
different.
Hmm. That's we've interviewed, I don't know, 40 plus founders, business owners on this podcast, and I don't know, 200 on another podcast I co-host. And having GoDaddy kind of co-create the name
Name
of your company, that's a new one.
first. Yeah. I mean, like names are one of those things that you can spend too much time on. And we were like,
Yeah.
we're like, Sendoso works. And like now we've seen like a couple companies like copycats like come out with like Oso to like to end it. And we're like, that doesn't, we're like, okay, we just made that up, but like we'll go there and see how it goes.
Did you get your URL from GoDaddy as
Yeah.
well?
We're like, yeah. What's funny is we raised a good amount of money and like we still have to renew our GoDaddy every month or every year. We're like, is that how like the
Yeah.
bigger companies work too?
That's great. So you had the idea based off of kind of personal experience.
Yeah.
Were you and you were just working in sales? Were you kind of in the back of your head like just waiting for inspiration to strike? You're like, I know I want to start my own thing.
No, I mean, like, I think that, like,
No.
I knew that this was an idea when it took off. We didn't think it would get as big as it was. And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
we, so it was like a side project. And then as it started to grow, we were like, all right, we should figure out if we can do this or not. So I jumped first rather than my co-founder. And at that point, we're like, we start selling it. And we started selling it. And it kind of was, people had this problem. So we had product market fit pretty much right away. So we were selling probably a new customer a day at that point. And so we're like, we should raise money because we got to figure out how we're actually going to scale this. So we did a seed
Mm-hmm.
round. And then from a seed round, we started growing even faster because we actually had sales reps at that point and success reps at that point. And then we were like, we got to build structure around it and actually build an organization. And we're like, maybe we build this to like, 20 people. And then we see where we go from there. 20 became a Series A, a Series B, a Series C. We got to, during COVID, because everyone was at home. So COVID was awesome for us because everyone was in their
Mm-hmm.
houses and they're trying to figure out how to send stuff to one another. So we went to like 500 plus people at the company at that point, and we were running warehouses around the world, and it was really quick and fast growth because we had fit pretty much instantly. Because folks had stuff under their desks, they were like, I don't even know what's under there. Like they're like, I do gifting, but I don't know if it works or not. And by plugging that into people's CRMs, you could track it for the first time. And that was kind of our like light
Mm-hmm.
bulb moment. So like when people ask, hey, like, did I know that this would be the one that would grow to as big as it was? I didn't. My co-founder might disagree with me. I knew we had fit and I knew it was a need, but I didn't think it would grow to as big as it did in 10 years at all.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. So, uh, why does this strategy work? And then when and how did it take off?
Yeah. I think this is the oldest like trick in the books on sales, right? Sales and marketing. Like the
Yeah.
idea of like reciprocity and sending a gift to a prospect, like trying to get a meeting, has been done forever. I mean, think about like insurance days, like back in like the early, like insurance first came up, people would leave pens in the offices and things like that. So, but no one's ever tracked that. People have always done, when we launched the company, we would use this line on demos where we'd be like, hey, do you do holiday gifts? And everyone in the B2B world would be like, yeah, like I send popcorn or flowers or whatever have you for the holidays, cookies. We're like, great. Like, what did you spend? And what did that do for you ROI wise? And no one knew that answer. Everyone spent 10, 20,
Mm-hmm.
$30,000 on holiday gifts, but no one knew why they were doing it. And so it was like,
Mm-hmm.
what if we bring tracking to that? What if we make it easier to send? What if we started automating to send the right gift at the right time? And so that was kind of like our moment where folks were like, yeah, like that actually makes a lot more sense of what I should do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of
Got
the
it.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it almost is it one of those unconscious psychological tricks where someone like does you a favor and then you
Reciprocity.
feel and like you're like, ah, now I got to do something for them.
Yeah, like the power of
Is that
reciprocity of like I owe this
yeah.
person something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think sometimes
Okay.
like it's almost like you're building a relationship with someone over because like I think that you should gift every interaction with the customer because people also go through like life moments and they're at work also. And so those vendors who recognize that and start with a relationship, like let me give you an example. Like someone has a kid, like that's a good excuse to send like a branded onesie. Someone had a hard day, that's a good excuse to send them like a DoorDash gift card. Say, hey, have lunch with us tonight. Like those vendors who can stand out and build that relationship, it makes it a lot harder to churn off of them if you have that kind of like going like deep. Sort of like, oh, I can't churn off of ABC software, so I can't churn off of Chris's like program or Chris's program. So I think like that connection is important in the business world because you're just bringing personalization into it and kind of like because it's hard to build a relationship kind of over the phone. Like you don't see everybody
Hmm.
face to face like you used to back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, do you guys suggest certain gifts at certain times, or is there
So yeah, I
rules
mean
of thumb here?
like we have so that you could have a really crappy product and gifting won't make it better is like the best way to think about it, right? I mean, like, so what we typically recommend is top of funnel where you're doing things like trying to educate the market is to incorporate some sort of e-gift. If you have webinars, if you have white papers, if you have a book that's big in your space, like try sending that out. Like try doing a webinar and then before that webinar, send out gift cards to grab coffee for everybody. Like old school, light touch. Like you don't even need a system for that. Like just go to Starbucks and buy it like we used to. And like see like if your attendance is higher. During your first demo, if it's around lunchtime, try sending gifts before and grab lunch. If that deal is moving through the process and someone's having like a life moment, like going on vacation or having a kid or going skiing, like whatever it might be, like that's a good excuse to like maybe send some sort of gift to them because like they'll mention things that are important on phone calls, and really good sales reps pick up on that, and you can send gifts to people that will be like, oh man, like all it is about standing out. That's all it is, like standing out, like getting through the funnel. And then once that customer's closed, send something. Maybe that's champagne. Maybe it's something that hey, you're in the family now. Maybe it's some sort of swag item. As they approach renewal, same thing. Not just to the signer of the contract, but also your users. If they're in the office, good excuse for cookies. Good excuse for like something that the office could use. I think that like those sorts of things make you stand out. Where people don't understand gifting is they do like a big one-time send and they expect immediate results. Your gift has to go along with your content on your website. It has to like be at every interaction with the customer. It's not just like a Hail Mary type thing once a year, I think is where folks get confused.
Hmm. Okay, awesome. So my business, we run twice monthly webinars for financial advisors.
Mhm.
The webinars typically something to do with retirement or, investing vaguely aimed at retirement. And we get leads through Facebook and Instagram. So you're saying if we sent them, given that this is maybe like a local campaign where we're charging around or we're targeting where the advisor lives and works, if we sent every person that registered for the webinar like a Starbucks gift card
Yeah.
and be like, hey, love to meet for coffee after the webinar.
Do it right before or right out. Like I
Right
would do
before.
before and see if attendance, like do it like in the morning and like see if attendance changes for that webinar.
Hmm.
Because like
Okay.
to your point, like reciprocity, one is far better than a reminder. Like, hey, there's a webinar
Yeah.
today, you should jump on. It's more like, hey, grab coffee and we'll talk to you today around like 11. So like I think it's one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, I should go check that out. Like that's why I signed up for it. So I think that there's nice nudges there to remind folks if you're using webinars. I think in your space, books are massive. There's a ton of like whatever you're reading, the latest book about finance, like sending that around and putting a note with it saying, hey, I thought this was relevant to the space is a
Hmm.
really important send. I think that works really well. We don't need addresses to do sends, and so it makes it easy to get people wherever they might be. We can send them a package because they just confirm their address. So those types of
Hmm.
things work really well for your space for sure. So as long as you're
Hmm.
under, I think the FINRA thing is like I think it's like $100 a year or a quarter or something like that. So as long as you're under that, and books don't qualify, if you put a logo on it, it doesn't qualify either. So there's
Hmm.
loopholes there.
Hmm. Okay, so you're saying because we typically ask for the registrant's like name, email, phone number. You're
Mhm.
saying we wouldn't have to ask for their
Nope.
address to send them the
Always their email.
physical. Okay.
Yeah, they basically this was a COVID creation. So like in like 2020, when everyone was at home, no one had home addresses. So we built this thing called like address confirmation. So it's like, hey, like Brayden, where are you? And like maybe I'm in Tahoe. I don't know. And so I would just confirm my address. We don't share that with the company. And then we send that package to that location. We can also like as it's halfway
Hmm.
through transit, we can retarget to where it needs to be sent to. So that works
Hmm.
well. I mean, it's still huge today because now it's like kind of half and half. Some people are in the office, some people aren't, depending on the day.
Hmm.
And so like you can typically move those packages to where folks are so they actually receive them because they're
Hmm.
confirming where they are.
And is that something that you guys offer kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
exclusively, or is that
It's pretty
is that like
common
a
in the space
service?
now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that like there's it's pretty common across the board.
Mm.
We were first there, but I think so. Like what we move towards is like more like suggested gifting. So based on like things that you've liked on social lately, we can predict what you might respond to. So like that's
Mm.
like our take on the AI space is like because we have all this data because we probably sent things to you at some point where there's an e-gift, where there's a charity gift card that you've used, and so we can be like, great, like we think this is something Chris would like, and so we can start to use that to better send things. But the address thing's pretty table stakes now, for sure.
Hmm. Okay. So you're saying you're using data to kind of better suggest what to send to prospects as well?
Exactly. Yeah, that's where we
Okay,
are now.
wow. Nice.
I mean, like 10 years we've sent like millions of gifts. And so if you're like a CMO or a CFO, we typically know what you would respond to based
Yeah,
on
yeah,
our data.
yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And how does your model work, and how did you decide on it? Like, what is your charging
Yeah.
structure?
So there's when you use our system, there's a SaaS fee to use it. There's also a consumption model there too, depending on how many sends you're doing. But typically it's a SaaS fee, and then every send that you do, let's say you're sending out Starbucks gift cards, like those are at cost. Let's say you're sending out things from the warehouse, like there's a fee there, like it's either a margin of like 5%, 10%. It's pretty small. We make the majority of our money in the SaaS fee. That's what the VCs care about. The sending is important because like there aren't a ton of platforms out there that you need to buy a SaaS fee and then you need to spend in our system to have success. And so like we want to keep those costs low so you send a lot so you see your ROI go from the SaaS fee. So that was always a challenge from a business. Is like having both of those levers is something we've always looked at. Like if you're paying us $10,000 in SaaS, you should be spending $20,000 in sending. Like it's usually 2 to 3 times what your SaaS fee is that we want you to spend. Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
not spending that, you're going to turn off of us because you're not seeing success. And so like
Mm-hmm.
that's from a business owner standpoint, that was always a challenge is that you need to spend more money to show success in this software that you purchased. And I would say the only one that's similar to that would be like an advertising platform, but a lot of those are free now and you're typically just spending on the ads. And so that was always and still is a challenge across our space for sure.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And is the biggest value add you all offer, is it the kind of cross-referencing with the data and just ease of use?
Ease of
Um,
use is a big one. Integrations is a big one. So it's a lot of like
yeah.
whatever you're sending gets pushed into your CRM. You can send from the CRM. So like most folks don't want to log into another tool. But if you're already in Salesforce
Mm,
or HubSpot or Dynamics, like there's just a pop up there saying, hey, like, do you want to send something to Chris? Like, here's what we recommend, or here's a
mm,
campaign that marketing built. So like the ease of use, then trigger based stuff. Like if something happens to a tier 1 account, move stages, et cetera, you can trigger gifts. That's why folks buy us is like ease of use because gifting everyone likes to do. Everyone likes to get a hey, thank you for sending that. But the thing is most folks just forget to do it. And then
mm-hmm.
also your brand. Like you want boxes to show up that are branded, that have a good experience for the prospect or the customer or the employee.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And then why do you guys um warehouse all of the gifts? Why
Oh,
not
why?
drop
Why not?
ship or
Well, we should have. Like, if there was like a biggest error, like when we first built the company, that would be one for sure. Like, building out like a mini Amazon was a challenge and a half. Like,
mm,
we
I imagine.
raised, I mean, we raised so far like about 160 million we raised across the company. Like, a lot of that
Right.
went into building the warehouse side of things. So we basically like had to build our own order management system, our own warehouse management system, and there were some tough times in the beginning. Like there's a lot of like times where I flew to the warehouse in Arizona, would just help that team find things, package things, etc. But the last couple of years, we found the right people where the warehouse is now this a well-oiled machine, and it's become our moat. Like when we go and try to sell enterprise
Mm,
like
mm-hmm.
companies, like we're like, hey, if you're using a 3PL and you're launching a product, or you want something secret, like it's Sendoso employees in the warehouse, and like that's important now. And we can
Mm-hmm.
also like move things as we need to. We can get very customized with stuff. We can do boxes in a certain way. That is nice to have now, but it was pain to get to that point. And because we have five of them, also we had to figure out how and where to route orders. So that was great now, but there's a lot of crazy stories to get to that point. A lot of like late nights finding boxes and like sending the
Yeah.
wrong things out. And like
Oh no.
Amazon has basically really made us all really used to like overnight shipping and things just work and like putting like like here's a concept and idea like when you're able to order something on Amazon and then like when it's leaving it's like and you buy something else like an hour later it's like oh do you want to put that in the same box that is earth shattering. That is so hard to do, but like no one even thinks about like that being hard to do, but it is crazy
Yeah.
hard. And so like
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
figure all that stuff out, and that's what people are used to is like just getting
Mm-hmm.
like shipping stuff the next day and then forgetting about it. So we're there now, but
Wow.
it took some time to get there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like you said this was a huge mistake to do the warehouse model or to own your own warehouses, but it sounds like that is one of your biggest
Yeah.
moats, your greatest assets
Yes.
at this point.
So not a huge mistake, just a huge challenge. I would say it's one of those things where like it
Yeah.
just took. That was what kept us up the most at night. Was
Hmm.
like trying to figure that piece out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was one of our. It's our biggest moat. Yeah, like which is awesome. Like that and the
Hmm.
software. I'm glad we have it now. But it was a fun one to get to for sure.
Yeah. So what I mean, it sounds like that was one of the key decisions that you made to reach this level of success. Were there any other key decisions that you made that helped lead you here? And
Yeah.
if so, how did you know those were the right decisions to make?
Early days in sales. So my background being in sales, I would call myself a lazy sales rep where I don't like to do all my prospecting on my own. So early days we knew we wanted to sell through partners. So we spent lots and lots of time in partners' offices being like, yeah, hey, like we're a good fit or partner for you because we help people use your system more, like whether that be Salesforce or whatever have you. So we spent a ton of time just on sales floors and partners' offices trying to sell our product with their sales reps because we were a good complement to them. So that was important in the early days. 'Cause that helped us. Like we were just two people. That helped two of us really get the word out really quickly. So I think like that was one. Selling alone is not fun. Selling with partners is way better. The warehouse would be another one for sure. We hit it at the right time where we knew that like this was a fix to something from marketers, but we didn't really know how big of a fix. And like we priced correctly, being like we brought on a lot of like our probably first 20, 30 customers were advisors. We're like, hey, like we're gonna sell this to you. It's in beta. We need your feedback. Like, what are we missing? And like, so a lot of those folks today have jumped companies 3 or 4 times and they bought us every single time. And so I think like having those folks as advisors was huge. I was like, those were probably like the top 3 or 4, I would say, like steps that helped us like build a pretty good foundation for sure.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. And then, who is your ideal customer here? Is it's, you mentioned 10K in SaaS spend, so that's probably out of the realm of like a single person. So it's more,
Yeah.
companies that work with you. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, so we have like a product, like almost like a PLG product where you can use and do single sending if you're like a real estate agent or a single like a single office. Our ideal customer is someone who's like financial space is great. Like if you're
mhm,
a big bank to a big financial services company, like you're gonna be doing a lot of sending. Like those are amazing companies. Technology companies are all huge. Like we during COVID, we looked at our book of business and we were like, okay, we have too many tech companies. We got to get some non-tech companies. Like I love,
diversify.
yeah, right. Like I love when I see a company close, I don't know the note, like the logo I don't recognize. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
great. Like, and it's a big deal. You're like, awesome.
yeah, yeah.
So like manufacturing is great for us. Financial services is great for us. Typically, our buyer is a CMO or a VP of marketing. We do a lot of event spaces. Like as conferences have come back, like the customer marketer, the event marketer, like those are great folks to talk to because like they have very complicated lives and shipping, especially the event marketer. And so those are amazing folks to work with.
Hmm. Awesome. So, for any kind of solo independent financial advisors listening who just have their own practice, is it possible for them to
Yeah,
use Sendoso? Yeah.
absolutely. Just
Okay.
send me a note at hello@Sendoso. Goes to me. Still to this day, that goes to me. We that was like one of those like errors that we did. Like we're like we set this alias forever ago, and like it
Hmm.
still goes to me. So we get most of it. Yeah, like it's fun. Like happy to send an account and they can use it for e-gifts and physical
Yeah.
things like flowers and cookies, etc. But
Cool.
yeah, I think like it's a good thing to test too. Like a lot of people in your space have already done it and seen success there, or they already do things during the holidays. But try doing it when it's a little closer to like that person's birthday or whatever have you. I think you'll get a different reaction.
Hmm. Got it. Got it. Now, you guys are leveraging data and personalization. Um, are you incorporating any of this large language model, AI, machine learning
We are,
stuff
yeah.
to
So like
predict? automate?
I mean, you kind of have to like to stay relevant. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, one's like the suggested gift at the right time is like an easy one. The next one
Yeah.
is like when you send a gift, you typically have like a section where you can write a note. And we've started to introduce something called Pun Pal, which is basically like a way like we'll help you write a note. You can drop in like this where this person lives, and like it'll write actually content for you. All it is using ChatGPT, and so it's kind of a cool way to help people write stuff. We're getting better at suggesting timing. So like ingesting someone's calendar, being like, yeah, hey, like you haven't talked to this person in X amount of time, or you should do this
Mhm.
send. So I think like that'll only take us further. A lot of tools like cadence type tools like SalesLoft, Clay, etc. I think we'll as they begin to grow more and more, I think we'll get better at like suggesting the gift at the right time too. So
Mhm.
we'll see how that
Nice.
goes. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. 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 I would think just getting a ping,
Check the
an
background here.
email.
Yeah. Well, right. The right time.
Hey, that's
Sharing a
a
wife with or sharing an office with your spouse, that's a COVID thing. We'll see how that goes. It's been like 5 years. A coworker changed a lot, that's for sure.
yeah. She's a good coworker. She'll send
Yeah,
you a
right.
gift. She'll
Yeah,
send you a
yeah.
gift.
Send you a gift for
She'll
sure.
great. And then how do you and Sendoso find new clients?
Yeah, it's a lot. So I mean, we had a big team of SDRs. We're heavily into AI type cadences right now, and like where it ingests your ICP and it can suggest companies that fit that, and they'll
Mm,
fall into an email cadence. We do a lot of webinars, a lot of webinars.
mm,
We
mhm,
do a lot of white papers. We do a lot of gifting of our own. Uh, we spend a lot of time like in our current user base. Like we might have like a really small segment of a big enterprise company using us, like landing and expanding that is big for us as well. And like as those companies acquire other companies, we can typically sell different tangents of it. So those are our three major ways. The last 18 months have been great. Before that, we kind of went through like the crazy world of tech where it was like, hey, everyone was like shrinking. And so we were trying to get away from tech. I would say now,
mm.
like we have a lot of tech. We have a better mix now of customers where it's manufacturing and finance, et cetera. But it took work to get there. Like I think that like if you look at your book of business and you're all in one space, that's a good time to be like, okay, we got to go use this playbook in a different segment because if that space implodes like tech did in 2022, it gets kind of scary.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Awesome, awesome. And uh, as far as your webinars go, are you employing some sort of gift strategy to increase show up rate?
And yeah, we do. We do a ton of that. So we're a little more than just the e-gift. We do some more crazy things. So there's a lot of directions you can take it. Like one direction is you do like the happy hour wine tasting thing. I think that kind of got overused in COVID, but I think it's cool. I think it's a really cool model to get people to attend something. We'll do a lot of like book sends or like cool creative invite sends. I think like think of you something like an invite like this, and like on the invite you have to put glasses on. It's one of those like passcode things, and it's an invite to a webinar. Like you can get pretty creative with stuff to get people to attend. I think
Yeah.
any type of thing that stands out. I mean, like even myself, like things that go to my mailbox, I will always respond to. What's funny about it is like even me being in this business
Your
for 10
physical
years,
mailbox?
yeah, I mean that's where like that's I
Oh.
sent like B2B type sends. Like not like random postcards, but like a really
Hmm.
good send to someone usually gets a response. And like that's like the response rate's really high on that stuff. And if it's invites to webinars and it's a note inviting them, your signups will go through the roof, I think.
Mm. So just a physical note is
Yeah.
the
I mean,
shortest
like,
distance.
let me give you an example of like one that I love. So we have this company and this rep, this was years ago, that still does it. When this rep loses deals, like I said, like, hey, I'm going with your competitor. That person will send a handwritten note, which our system does. And the handwritten note is like, yeah, hey, like, and they'll send it like right when they're in the middle of onboarding. The handwritten note will be like, yeah, hey, like, sorry you went with the other guy. Hope you have success. Hope to connect in a year. And the handwritten note always gets opened because it goes to their address, but also like it wins some deals back because usually they're in the pain of going through onboarding. Like maybe I made an error of not going with the other
Mm-hmm.
company, and they're getting a
Mm-hmm.
classy handwritten note. That's such a good send and such a good use of the, or like even like a note of like, hey, thanks for like a thank you note, or like thanks for hopping on a demo. Like those
Mm-hmm.
typical things that gets you away from like just an email inbox and into a mailbox. I think is a huge like some of this different that people aren't used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it's these are great ideas, man. I'm gonna
Yeah, give it a
definitely
shot.
incorporate some of these. Um, and then, to the extent that you are comfortable sharing, um, a lot of our listeners, aspiring entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs, folks who hope to go to the Bay Area and, do what you did and are doing. And any advice for those types of folks, as far as the route you took and anything you
Yeah.
might recommend they do different or the same.
I think it's good to have a co-founder. I think I had a
Yeah.
co-founder who we pushed each other a lot, but at the same time, like we live on the same town now. So we were both in the city. We now live in the suburbs. Both have had kids and all that fun stuff. And like that,
Yeah.
having a
Yeah.
co-founder who pushes you, but at the same time, like as someone who can pick up the slack, I think is really important. I think like no matter what you start, having co-founders awesome. And like you're gonna get in fights, you're gonna argue. Like I just had an argument with them this morning, which is good. It's almost like if you build your list of people you talk to the most, it's usually like your spouse, maybe your sibling, your brother, and like that person. And so like that's
Yeah.
they become almost like family. I think that's a
Yeah.
really important thing to do when you're starting something. Secondly, is like I don't think you need to work 24 hours a day or like that, but I do think you need to work smart and
Mm-hmm.
know when you feel burnt out and step away from it. We did an early thing. We called it a vacation bonus. And like when my co-founder would, I'm like, if we went on vacation, I'm like, go. I give him $100 and he would like buy drinks at the bar. And he did the same thing to me. We did that forever in the company because it was just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, hey, like go on vacation, like go, like, because when you come back, you're just remotivated. So I think knowing what your limits are and knowing to burn yourself out is really important. And then at three, I think no matter what you start, you just have to know what you're trying to do. Like if it's a motivator is to build something cool, if it's to become independent in terms of like your money wise, awesome. Like just know the driver is, and like just like and keep reminding yourself as to why you did it, because there's a lot of very lonely days, I would say, where no one's checking in on you to make sure you were working. It's more just like you got to like check in on yourself to be like, oh yeah, I should need to go work on that, because it's easy sometimes to not
Mm-hmm.
work all the day. So like it's you need to push yourself to go and do the job.
Yeah. My co-founder is my crippling anxiety.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like the
He didn't
crippling
let me hang
anxiety.
out. Yeah.
There's no hanging out. There's like the sign of that means. Yeah, the co-founder thing was like I knew him a long time, and so it helped. We went to college together, and so like that was a help. And then we jumped around startups for a long time. And so when we first went into business together, the trust factor was important. We're like, because you can easily go into the path of like I'm working harder than you, and like you
Mm-hmm.
don't want that. And so like that's
Mm-hmm.
something that you got to like balance, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. That's great advice. Okay, my second to last question. So a large portion of this audience is financial advisors, and a large portion of that particular audience really enjoys working with business owners, founders, co-founders such as yourself. To the extent that you are comfortable sharing, do you currently work with a financial advisor? If yes, how did you find them? Why do you stay with them? If no, would you ever be open to that?
Yeah, I live in California, and so financial advisors are. It's important to have one here because like the state loves to tax you, and so
Yes.
you need to find someone who knows how to run that stuff. I do work with one. The one I work with specializes in folks that are in the tech space. They're out of Seattle, and they were helpful. They've been very helpful, just like taking over a lot of just day to day stuff and like where to put money when you want to do certain trusts and things like that I was not savvy to. And like that's
Mm,
been very helpful as I've gone through my career. I've used them even before Sendoso, like I had like like I it was a little bit of a model, but like I kind of went in heavy. And my wife also works in tech, and so like it was helpful to have someone who knew that space for sure. And like that's what they pitched.
Awesome.
The way I found them was like they reached out to like founders, being like, "Hey, we specialize in folks who," and it was before any like the big rounds of funding, and it was someone like, "Hey, we can help you get ready for that." So I think like that was and it was this
Mm-hmm.
cold emails to me.
Wow. And their gift was
There
knowing
wasn't a gift at all. Like
where
it
you
was
were
like,
at in life.
yeah, right. I think that like there wasn't a gift. I feel like they take me golfing every once in a while, but they don't gift enough.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll let them know. We'll
Yeah,
send them this
right. Yeah,
podcast. Be like,
yeah.
hey,
Hey,
come
man,
on.
come on, get it together.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Final question for you, Brayden. It's been awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing all your
Yeah.
knowledge and experience. You're an amazing dude. Um, what my final question is an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like. And that question is, what are you working towards?
Uh, so there's a number I've always kept in the back of my head of like and it's funny because like that answer changes like like on the days like as you like before like if I didn't have kids, I think I'd be like, oh, like I just want to have a bunch of houses, a beach house and a house in the city and like all that sort of stuff. But like now I would say like the answer has changed even more because I have a 3-year-old. It's like so like the
Uh,
phrase that I keep is like occupational freedom of like not ever like to be able to maintain your life and to do whatever you want and at the same time like be able to spend as much time as I want with like my kid and like coach soccer on the weekends and whatever have you. So I think that like that is what the goal is. Like, being able to have a really rich lifestyle and to have occupational freedom, not worry about money or whatever the bill might be or
mhm,
issue if you need
mhm.
to put a new roof on the house or whatever have you. I think like that to me is success. Have like where you can just take a week off and not worry about stuff or even a month off. Like
Mhm.
be able to move to Barcelona or whatever have you for like a summer. Like stuff like that is
Yeah, yeah.
great. And like I think that that is the so one I think that like occupational freedom. Two is like just like the freedom of like hey like I can work from anywhere. I think is important. Like when we originally started Sendosa, we thought we wanted to have like a lifestyle business. Like we can move to Bali for a summer and live there and just have this thing running. But like that didn't happen. And so like that still is appealing of like wouldn't it be cool if like you can show your kid the world before they start school. So I think like that's a really cool motivator for me too is like hey like a way to travel I think is important. Like going on vacation is the best. Like I
Mhm.
always think it's funny when you interview somebody and they're like, "What do you like to do?" It's like, "Oh, I love to travel." It's like, "You like to go on vacation? That's crazy." Me too. So like, I think like those are the two things I would say is like the freedom of being able to do what you want and like occupational freedom is the other.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. That's a great answer. And where can my audience find out more about you and
Yeah,
Sendoso?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the only Brayden Young on all of LinkedIn. My parents were creative with my spelling of my name, so
Okay.
I'm the only one on
Yeah.
there. So reach out, and then as I said, hello at Sendoso goes to me too.
Yeah. Great. We will link those in the show notes.
Cool.
Braden, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
taking the time. You are wise beyond your appeared years.
Thanks.
And
Yeah, I'm only 22. Yeah.
yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right.
And you have like this really wonderful like chill energy to you that just like puts me at ease. I'm sure it'll put the
Good.
audience at ease. So, that's a great and rare thing. And you make everything just look so effortless and fun and filled with
Appreciate
joy.
it.
So
Appreciate it. I'll do your podcast anytime with those compliments. Thanks.
hey, so yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. I know you're a busy guy. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.